Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for another episode of America in Black and White. My name is Charles King, and I am your host. Tonight, we're going to be speaking of some issues and some things that are taking place that I would really like to inform you, our audience, about as to what's happening in the world today. Today, we're going to talk about politics. We're going to talk about economics, and we're also going to talk about justice. Please sit back, enjoy yourself, and let's hop right into it as we are about to move into some real times. First of all, I want to say for those that are actually looking onto our YouTube channel, I would like to ask if you would, is to please subscribe and hit the notification button because every time we go live or there is a live, and in case you're not here to see it, you can always hit the notification button where you'll be notified as to every time we post an episode that you will be notified that it's there. And also, while you're there, you'll get a chance to watch all the other episodes that have been done prior to this one, and you can watch them at any time you so desire. So, as we talk about politics, the first thing that I want to say is for those that are here in Georgia, right now early voting is taking place for the Democratic primary. So for those that don't want to wait till the day of the actual event, I would suggest that you please go and vote early and make sure you get that vote counted. So as we talk about politics, right now the political arena, is going through an enormous amount of things. I'm not going to sugarcoat things and try to play, the partisan side of we're in unique times. Hearing people say we're in unique times, that's just a cop out. This is a way that mainstream media is keeping itself away from actually saying what needs to be said. And what that is that we're at a time right now that we're all trying to save this democracy. We need to save this democracy, don't care who you are. We need to save this democracy because I think if any of us is going to have a chance to stand, move forward, and do all the things that we need to get done, or for those that want to have opportunities to grow and expand, especially from a small business perspective, we need this democracy to be what it is. Anything that's outside of that, it is just not going to work. And so what that means is for those people that like to look at and say that it's okay for the occupier of the White House from 2016 that just held the seat after President Obama. People are just calling this a unique situation for the occupier. We haven't had a president up until 2020, and 2020 is when Joe Biden was elected president, thanks to the state of Pennsylvania, the city of Philadelphia. Philadelphia gave us President Biden, and President Biden has tried to do some things, but he's got some issues of his own. But politics is like it has not been a partner to myself, which means that we have to come up with these different ways of actually making things work work for us. And so how that's going to work is we all have to come together and we have to come up with an agenda that's going to push us over the top. So with that being said, we're going to start with politics. And I want to start with this article that was published 2 days ago. And this is an article that's talking about a situation that transpired in Wisconsin. This article right here. And in this article, it talks about the Wisconsin Ethics Commission saying that the Trump PAC, committed campaign fund violations and they are recommending felony charges. Now, let's talk about that. And when we talk about politics, now we know that when you're dealing with public money, public funding, that there's a way that this is supposed to be handled. And that's also a way that these funds have to be counted, because you have to send reporting in to show that you're not misappropriating or abusing these public monies. What they have done, if they took money that was funded to the Wisconsin GOP, Republican Party, whatever you want to call it, conservative movement, whatever you want to call it, the racist party, all of the racists, okay, where everybody else has to follow the rules. Apparently, it seems like they don't have to. So what they have done is they have taken a slew of money, and they've used this in ways that they're not supposed to. Well, what you have to find out is that this is also looked at as being taken up. This case is being taken up by the special counsel. He's looking at least, Mr. Jack Smith. And so what has happened is that they've taken this money, and they're taking this money to pay bills and buy just different things. They're doing all this stuff. But the person that's benefiting from this is the occupier of the White House of 2016. And so the thing is that he's raising his hand, whereas so saying he has nothing to do with this, when he's the benefactor of everything that has transpired. So if he's the benefactor of all these of these illegal misappropriations, he should be held accountable. Now, it's true that in each of these states and cities, there are people that are over the main functions of both parties. And so they're supposedly being held to this standard. So the standard that they're supposed to be held to is what they're not adhering to. And so my thing is that, I think they should more than be punished. That's number one. But my thing is, those people that are actually supporting this foolishness, this thievery, and everything that's illegal, I think everybody that's a part of it, that they all should be arrested. They all should be in jail. Because if it was me that was running for some political office, and even if I didn't know anything about it, they would include me. They would include me as an accessory, which is just as bad for the person as the person that actually committed the crime. So it should be the same here. But as we all know, that the occupier of 2016 has, he has been given these opportunities of trying to extend all the various things that he has done wrong politically. That's from a legal perspective. So my thing is, if he's able to do this, why is it no one else can? Nobody's been able to tell me, because what has actually transpired is Trump is just getting away with any and everything he feels like he can do. And so every time you look, they're crying and complaining about somebody else, but not thinking about the things that they're doing. Another article that has come out, this one actually just came out today. This one just came out today. This article is speaking of the Supreme Court's delaying of the immunity trial. It's for bad news, is what experts are saying. Now, it's a fact that Jack Smith has filed a motion, for Trump, that there's no immunity for him. The District Court of Washington, D.C. has also upheld that and stated, written it as plain as possible, so that the Supreme Court don't have to even look at this. But they're sitting there and they're playing with this. They're playing politics with this. So see, this is both politics and justice. And so we're trying to get the real deal here on both sides. But what's not happening is we're not actually being given, we the taxpayers, the citizens of this country, are not being given the things that we need to ensure that this is being looked at the way it's supposed to. Now, we can all look at the Supreme Court and we all know that they're partisan. We all know that the Supreme Court is truly on the side of illegalities, because the Supreme Court itself is not ethical. If they were ethical, then there are a whole bunch of things that some of the justices, I won't call them out by name, but some of the justices would have recused themselves from several things that they're done. As a matter of fact, it's 4 of them that's on the court that should be recused, or they should be excused from the court, period. Because they've committed more violations than you can ever violate. But here they are, they're denying the public, they're denying the people of the United States the right to get this case moving, having this criminal prosecuted, having this criminal locked behind bars, and letting this criminal know that he is not special. But, as I say, this is an article that plays on both sides. It plays for both political and justice. The political perspective is that the justices that are on the court are on the conservative side. They're biased. They're playing as though if they're actually listening or looking at these cases in a real manner, when they're really not. Now, I will say the other 3 that are on the liberal side of this, they've made concerted efforts, to show that, they're on the side of law. And this is what they want. when they look at the cases, it's what they want, but also they look at them through a clear lens. Now, I can say for somebody that look like me, justice is always not blind. But in this case, where we all know how this should actually turn out and the things that they should be doing on the Supreme Court, they're not doing their job. They're not doing their job, because if I was a billionaire and I bought me a justice, I would be happy too. Because if I bought you, then that means that you're only going to do what I tell you to do. So if I tell you to delay, if I tell you not to look, or if I tell you that I don't want to see this period come this far, then that's what they will do, which is not the way justice is supposed to be working. So we got two ethical violations on two different ways, or two different industries, or two different factions of the spectrum, where we look at politics and we look at justice. Justice is supposed to be served. Justice is supposed to be, it's not supposed to be partisan. It's supposed to be just very objective to what's happening and strictly cover the letters of the law. Now, the thing is, when we look at this case right here, Washington, D.C., when those terrorists attacked the Capitol and threatened the Congress people and told them that they were going to kill them, that includes the ones in the Senate. These were the people of the occupier. The occupier actually led an insurrection, is now facing charges in D.C., and the Supreme Court is holding up the case. Now, it's all understood that even in knowing just how proof positive this case is, they're doing everything in their powers to screw it up. Why? Why is this? Why is it that for justice and what it's supposed to be about, that it's not justice? I mean, I'm trying to understand why is that? Because it's a known fact that anybody that looks other than that has the complexion of this occupier that was in the White House, and of course, the secrets that were stolen and everything, and we still got people to this day, over 80 million people, 70 million people voted for this. That's a problem. But I tell you this, when I think the American people can finally put their head down, not their head downs, but lift their heads up and be proof positive and factual that there is going to be a change, then that's when things are going to get right. Other than that, it's not going to happen. So I say, let Judge Chuckin get her case, let Jack Smith do his prosecution, and let's see what the jury says. The thing is, the occupier already knows that if he is forced by the prosecution to put him on the stand, not that he's going to lose already, but what it's going to do is it's going to put him in a position that he knows that he's dead on arrival. He's dead on arrival. And the way it's boxed in and the way the case is set up, he's going to have no choice but to take the stand. I say let him take the stand, let him get persecuted on the stand, and let him do his time behind bars like real criminals do. Let's not play this game about his age. His age comes into play now, where people are sitting there talking about Biden's age when this criminal is just 3 years younger than Biden. So if he's just 3 years younger than Biden, his age is just as bad, right? But some people still think that he should be president of the United States. For me, I don't think anybody that's over the age of 80 should even think about running in the White House. That's just me, period. But I know that despite that, if I want there to be a democracy, there's no way I'm voting for Trump. I can tell you that. I will never vote for Trump. I will never vote for Donald Trump. I will never vote for a racist. I will never vote for a terrorist. I will never vote for a thief. I will never vote for someone that actually should be brought up on real serious charges of stealing documents that have secrets in them. No, I would never do that. But you got some people that actually follow that kind of stuff. And so they're excited about that because they say they're taking their country back. I know that means when they're taking their country back, that means that people that look like me, I'm not supposed to be an American, but I'm born in America just like them. So it's my country too. So they can forget that. Another political situation that is just as horrible, and all of this is coming up towards this election. So I just want people to actually be mindful of these things. Is I've got two actual articles that are just like the one I just read that's about politics and justice. These are articles that just came out a couple of days ago that are talking about the state of Alabama and the embryos being children. Now, I mean, as crazy as that sounds, they said embryos are children in Alabama. The Alabama Supreme Court made a ruling on this and said that, in fact, frozen embryos are children, and if anything happens to those children, then you are going to be criminally prosecuted. Now, I want you to know just one backlash before I get into this, is that now what this means is UAB had to hold up its embryo program that it was doing, where it was doing this scientific research, where they're no longer actually performing those things because those embryos, with them being children, they can't do the research that they need to do. So that means that if they continue with that research, they can be sued by those people that those embryos belong to. This is so smart, but so stupid. Because now I'm going to tell you, I was born and raised in Alabama. And I know Alabama has more than its share of flaws. But when it comes to repression, it's never gotten over the fact that the South lost the Civil War. Damn it, get over it. Because you want to say Jefferson Davis was the president of the South when we had the president of the United States as well. Ooh. I tell you, Jefferson Davis and the South is just way too much. It's funny to me because that is definitely not something that I really care about. I know what transpired at that time when they were talking all this foolishness in these crazy history books of all these different states. But I can tell you that's totally irrelevant to me. But what that told me is that racism will never leave this country. And it tells me, don't matter if you're in the South, the North, the East, or the West, or even that wonderful Midwest, that the Confederate controls a lot of these people. And it controls a lot of things that they do. I just say it's one of those things that don't control me. Because the truth is the truth regardless of the case. If you're a racist, you're a racist. If you were a slave owner, you're a racist. If you think getting free labor for all that time that's built up everything that's around this country right now was the right thing to do, and you think you should still have that, you're racist. And you're racist because you want to sit there, you want to point the finger at other folk, and you want to call them repressionists. You want to call them you want to call them racist, and you want to say that they want something for free when all the time it's these large corporations throughout this entire country that wants the labor for free. They're the ones who want the labor for free, and they're using each and every last one of you that's working in those corporations to be gatekeepers. And as a gatekeeper, they put you there to make sure that you keep either certain folk in line or you keep them from coming across the line to make an approach to tell you about yourself. Now, back to this story here about these embryos. I really think that because the occupier put those folk there at the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade, it opened a door that had everything behind it that was not going to be something that they should even think about doing. It opened the door that everything that came from behind that door was to tell you to close that door, and you are to never open this door. You should never have opened this door. It's Pandora's box. And so what that means is the insurrectionists, the terrorists, the racists, the Nazis, all those folks that are up there that's representing all of this nastiness that's in both the Senate and the Congress of the U.S., as well as these states, the state Senate and representatives. All these states are doing the same thing. So basically, you can tie them all in together, and when it comes down, only at the time that these folks in the southern region of the country feel like, they always screaming states' rights. But they only scream states' rights when it's beneficial to them. When it's not beneficial to them, then it's like, oh, well, the government should do this. Nobody is playing leapfrog. Nobody is playing, oh, let me roll over and let me kiss you when I feel like it. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. You see, these people need to be held accountable. And accountability is the one thing that a lot of us as citizens are not doing, because a lot of these folks that are representing these communities on the national level, they're all paid for. They're all paid for. I don't care if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. You are paid for. It's time to put some nonpartisan people in all these positions that are that's a little bit younger to get all of this old bought folk up out of politics. Get them out. But the reason why that's not going to happen is because when you start waving that money means everything. And so that means that even some of your newer folk that are going there are being bought. I mean, it's time for a real serious vetting process. And if there's not a vetting process, then this cycle is going to continue for the longest. But again, I just want to reemphasize how the state of Alabama looks so stupid in calling embryos children. Frozen embryos are children. Who in the hell believes something like that? I mean, where did that even come from? That's a whole bunch of nonsense. That kind of nonsense is what gets into the minds of those that are afraid in the brain, that are missing several circuits, that start to hear this one thing and saying that people are killing children when that's not even the case. I'm sure we can all remember back in 2016 when the Occupier was running against Hillary Clinton, and they made up that story about the folk being in the pizza place eating children. And they had this idiot go into this pizza place and shoot it up and kill innocent people that had no idea what this person was even thinking or where that story even came from, because it was all false. And those people that put put that bad story out weren't even held accountable for that. But yet and still, if there was somebody in the general public that actually put something out that made the national press like that, saying that, okay, just naming somebody and saying that they are killing people, the FBI would be there to arrest them in a second. But those folks up there in the Congress and the Senate, that is the U.S. Congress and Senate, that are putting out these lies, they're not being held accountable. Why are they separate? Why is the Occupier of 2016, why is he not being held accountable? The reason why it's not being held accountable is because all of them that's on that national level, they're all on the same playing field, regardless of the case. And we, the people, need to hold all of them accountable, which means we need to get each and every last one of them out of there, because they're not doing any of us any good. Because people that are spreading these kind of lies, and you got the media, you got media such as Fox News that can continue to spread these lies and have these people put these kind of lies out and put this out where they pass it and make it legal to say that women can't have abortions. How in the hell can a woman not control her body? I want to know how many of you think that some old 70, 60, 75, 80-year-old man needs to be all up in a woman's vagina telling her that she can't have an abortion, she's having sex and she's pregnant, so she got to have a baby. But he don't have the vasectomy. He don't have to have a vasectomy, and we can provide him with as much Viagra as possible to make sure that he can produce babies. Something's telling me that what's wrong with this story is that something's wrong with these identifiers of these old men that's hanging around the Congress and the Senate. We need to find out what's going on in those states. South Carolina. We need to find out what's going on over there. Here in Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee. We need to find out what's going on there. Because apparently, those men know more about a woman's body than she do, supposedly, quote unquote. And I want to know, what's that about? How can that possibly be? I mean, unless you're hiding something that we don't know. So let's ask that question. But nobody seems to want to ask that question. But you want to persecute a woman and tell her that her vagina belongs to you. Oof, boy, I tell you. I got two stories here to talk about when it comes to politics and economics. Yeah, this story right here. This one is the most saddest story that I could ever even want to talk about. And this is about somebody that looks just like me. Now, South Carolina, if you all remember, this past weekend, the Occupier of 2016 won the South Carolina primary over his former governor. And it was at that acceptance of him winning that there was a line, a slew of black men that they call the black conservatives that supposedly, quote unquote, represent all black men, which is false and is a lie, stating that they were black men are for Trump. Now, when I look at this is you see, that's Byron Donald right there. He's the congressman from Florida. He is the one congressman that could not talk to the young lady that did the 1619 project because he was caught in a lie, and he did not want her to make him look like an idiot. But he could sit there like all the rest of those black men that were on that stage. They were all on the stage in South Carolina this past weekend when Donald Trump said that black people are for Donald Trump and will buy his because we love tennis shoes and because he was being treated like a black person, and that's why we love him. And we were walking around with his picture showing that we're supporting him. That's a lie. But none of them, not one of them confronted him and disengaged themselves from that whole entire plot. No, they did not. The reason why is because when you wave that money make you do things that you never want to do. Each and every last one of them are gatekeepers. And they're gatekeepers to continue to oppress and repress the African American community. But each and every last one of those men, we should all make sure that there's going to be a time where I promise you before we get to the November election, each and every last one of them that was on that stage, I am going to put their names out one by one with a picture. So you can see, for those of you that live in those cities and states that they represent, what they are about. And then you make that decision. If you still want to support something like that, then that means that you want to sink deeper and deeper beneath the surface and never come out and grow. Because their jobs as gatekeepers is to keep you down and is to keep you back. When I read this article right here, this article really, it upset me and it made me feel bad because I can't understand from a political perspective, how could you say that you're for Donald Trump, who you know is a racist, knowing he's a racist, knowing that when it comes down to it, just like anybody else, will throw you under the bus. You have loyalty to him, but he don't have it to you. Is he your slave owner and we don't know about it? Or is there something else? Because I don't know no man that looks like me that would ever sink that low to kiss somebody's butt like that. That is just the nastiest of butt kissing. And it's also the worst thing of all. And if any of them supposedly, quote unquote, that have wives, which I'm not sure if they do, I don't understand what that situation could be like. But if they have wives, what does the wife think? Does she think it's okay for him to go out there and just be a subservient, sadistic, there's nothing manly about it. I don't even know how to even explain that because there's nothing manly about that. But they find it kind to go out there and to kiss this man's butt. Kiss it royally and loyally. And he don't care about them. But Byron Donald, just to go a little bit more onto him, is that he was hoping. So for those of you that don't remember, he was hoping that he was going to win for House Speaker when Kevin McConnell was running. And when that happened, and he did not win, he still sat there and looked like a fool, but it made him kiss butt that much more. So for those of you that want to remember, I'll tell you this, Hakeem Jeffries on the other side got more votes than him. Hakeem Jeffries on the other side got more votes than Kevin got before they finally had folk to break down to make him House Speaker before he lost it in less than a year. So now, they've got this evangelical Christian, is that what they call him? which again is another faction of the racist party, which does not resonate with most folks. Because I know people that I know, we're like religious and we're not religious. I mean, we're spiritual, and we're not about that religion crap, because that's a cult, and it's a dangerous cult. I don't support it. My spirituality is good for me. I don't need to go and sit up in nobody's church so they can tell me that they can control me and tell me what to do. I don't need somebody to feed me false prophecy from back in the 1800s that was written by some evil, demonic, sadistic individual that said that this is the holy book and got people following it. Yeah, I said that. But it doesn't take away from my spirituality, because I know that there's a higher being, but I don't have to follow it like that. Ain't nobody buying me, and ain't nobody telling me that I have to follow this doctrine. Ain't nobody telling me that it's okay for me to sell people's children and to abuse little boys and women under religious standards, and nothing happens, and you can just buy your way out. That's what's happening with all this religion. That's what's happening with that. And it's amazing that people still are not willing to do what they need to do to get their minds clear and free of that. That's what's keeping you enslaved. And we got this story here, which is also dealing with politics and economics. This is the picture of the governor of Iowa. Yes, that's who this is. And what has happened here is, under federal funds, they just put up a brand new complex in one of the second largest city there in Iowa. They put up this sports complex that's got state-of-the-art football fields, baseball fields. It's got the where you go and you practice hitting. It's got a swimming pool. It's got several tennis courts. But there are urban communities in certain cities, especially major metropolitan cities, that need complexes like that, don't get them. The ones that have those are paid facilities where they only cater to particular people. Now, think about this as our tax dollars go and fund those kind of things, where in some of our communities where we need these kind of complexes and community centers, we don't get them. They say that the way it's actually put out is that either the side of town you live on or the city can't put such a complex in urban areas, but they can in areas where they feel is much better suited for that, because they have the money. They have the money. I tell you, it's amazing that, when we talk about these things, how this is happening. Now, when I talk about this justice, let me just tell you this, because this is the real justice. I've got two articles here. Y'all recognize that lady there? That's Letitia James. Letitia James is the AG for Manhattan. Let me tell you something. This woman is making justice happen, because the occupier has to pay so much money to the state of New York for fraud until it's not funny. Okay, he has to pay back more than $400 million, which he does not have. And so if he doesn't come up with this money, even though he just filed yesterday, he just filed his appeal. Well, his appeal is going and there's no stay, because every day he's accumulating over $100,000 in interest on this ruling every day. Every day. Letitia James is going to make sure that he either pays this money or she's going to start seizing assets. Now, that is going to be wonderful to see just how good this turns out to be. And the reason why I say that is because that is a form of justice. That's a form of justice. But you see, the thing that I'm seeing that's really ugly about this is that there's no justice unless you see a woman like her holding him responsible or other parties responsible, regardless of the case. So it doesn't matter about telling us if you have status. Status means nothing. Justice is justice. And that's what she's talking about. So she's going to make him be accountable for what he's done. Now, I'm just trying to figure out why is it that he's not, that he thinks, shall I say, that he's going to be able to pull the wool over the eyes of somebody else. Now, it came back to, from even with the rape case with E. Jean Carroll. There's interest onto that as well. And the thing that's so wonderful is that he wanted to declare bankruptcy, but he can't bankrupt either of those two cases. And he can't bankrupt them because they're civil cases. So his ass should be held accountable. So I want to see that. Yes, that's very positive for me. That's something to pass out so people can understand that in this situation, and notice I said this situation, there's some accountability. It doesn't happen all the time. If there was 20 cases, this is the one criminal that's going to be held accountable. So you can get 1 out of 20. But if it was 20 black men, believe me, they go your ass accountable. But at any rate, and just talking about this, the good thing is this is where you can see a good part of the justice system working to where him being held accountable for the things that he has done is a necessity that this happens. This is not about, let me just make an example of. No, this criminal has been doing this for the longest. He's been doing this for the longest. Now, they went back and looked at books for over 20 years and see that he's been doing this. But I say this, just as he's being held accountable, I think that particular bank, and I'm not going to say their name because they knew that them documents had to be fraudulent because they thought it was cool to continuously to loan him money when no other bank would because of the fraud. Now, they should be a part of what he's going through. I do believe that. And when I say that, I mean that. It should be held accountable. Now, there's another case for justice where when I talked about the occupier and his classified documents case, this just came out today. The judge that he put on the circuit court down there in West Palm Beach. This woman has done everything unethical as possible, and she's still making bad decisions and making bad rulings. Where I think now it's time for the 11th Circuit to just come in and just totally get her off the case. Because if the 11th Circuit don't come in and get her off this case, this man will never face charges because he's trying to even get, even though he's already got those documents with the names of the folk that's going to be testifying against him, he's trying to learn of the new folk. And she actually was at a point where she almost allowed that to happen. My thing is this. If you're going to talk about justice not being blind, I suggest y'all do what's necessary to make sure that she's not blind. Because if not, we got more problems. And then, and just speaking of that, because of what's happening there in Mar-a-Lago, how about this case right here? This right here, that's Justice Clarence Thomas and the attorney of the young lady that stated she hate black people. Now, Clarence Thomas is black, but she hate black people. He hired her because, again, she don't hate him as a black person, but she hate all the black people that's beneath him, as they call it. So that means that she hate people that look like me. She hate me because I'm not in the limelight. I'm not stealing money like all the rest of them. Or nobody's paying me to make somebody's life miserable. So I'm one of those people that she hate. So he hired her to represent him, is what he did. And so what this is showing is that when this young lady did this, and when they have what's called their little meeting circle or their little circle of folk that's within this cult or this culture that they have of the things that they do, it's going to continue. Oh, and by the way, her name is Crystal Clanton. That's Clanton. Look her up. Look up Crystal Clanton. That's with a C. And you'll see she is the young lady that says how she hates black people. And I think you'll probably be surprised when you see who she is and what her ethnicity is. And you'll see that it's got to be pretty shocking. Because nobody in their right mind could actually sit there and say that, and it could be a party to something like that. The last thing that I'm not going to get a chance to cover much of, but I will get a chance to cover this through another show, maybe even tomorrow or the next day. But I'm suggesting, and I want you guys to go and download The Economic State of Black America, What Is and What Could Be. And what you're going to find about that is that, there is, the full report is 152 pages. The executive summary is 32 pages. The purpose of this is to tell you, and when you look at your state, for your state and what's actually happening, where it goes into occupation, wages, tells you these low-end jobs, what black folks make up of the labor force, tells you how that money is being spent. And it just goes through, when it talks about representation gap and within the occupation wage gap, that is, when you talk about managers, public and private executives. So these are where black people represent black folks in these industries. Physicians, software developers, wholesale and manufacturing sales representatives. It goes all the way down where it breaks out, how many black folks are in these different areas. But then within the occupation wage, that is making more than just a livable wage and able to do things that are a whole lot better for what everybody should be doing, or how you can help your community. It talks about black-owned businesses. That's from small and large. It gives us the sectors in which black folks are in. That is, from wholesale to retail, construction, manufacturing, professional, and scientific. It breaks all of that down. That's what this does, this report. I'm telling you, I want you guys to get this, and I've actually I need to do a whole show on this because I really want I want people to understand the state of the economics in Black America. So again, I really would like to have anybody that's out there listening to the show, and if I've said anything that you feel was wrong or off kiltered, or if you think I missed anything, I need you to please come back to the show and tell me about it. Send me a message. Let me know that you'd like to be on the show. We can discuss this. We can debate it, and we can go from talk about whatever you like to talk about. I want you on the show because it's something that people should actually get the opportunity to see just how so many people are not willing and able to hold people accountable, but then also hold themselves accountable and know that the Black community is no longer going to be a punching bag. As long as this platform is here, we will not be a punching bag. You will not be using Black folk for your game, your sport, your anything. Because every time something happens, we're going to call it out. And the embetterments of all these communities that's around this country, we are going to build them, and we are going to be as strong as ever here in these next 5 years, and that's a promise. So you all have a great evening. Enjoy yourself. I hope to see you guys for tomorrow's show. And I want to thank you guys, for spending this time. Have a great evening. See you for tomorrow's show. Good night.